Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining the second session of Pitch Deck Mastery with SIRE. And today we have a great presenter, Dr. Amir Omidvar. Uh, and we have two great judges, Dr. Saeid Babaei and Mr. Peter Hansson. I wonder if our judges first, Dr. Saeid and then Peter, introduce yourself, and then we will start the pitch deck. Peter, you want to go ahead first?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So thank you for having me on. Peter Hansson, I've been in medtech life sciences for somewhere north of 20 plus years, primarily in Canada and North America. Done everything from startups to large global multinational organizations, and span everything from small medical devices up to MR, CT scanners, and cardiac surgery. So got a broad background, both operationally and commercialization across that lifespan.
Thank you very much, Peter. So, Saeed, could you please have an introduction?
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Saeid Babaei. I'm the founder CEO of Biotech. I'm a serial entrepreneur with 2 exits. I also do angel investing, 25 years plus in the life sciences, predominantly in the biologics, in the therapeutics. And then since COVID, I had a pleasure pivoting towards a diagnostic and specifically in a clinical diagnostic, do genomics and any kind of molecular testing in Markham.
Thank you, Saeed.
Great.
Okay, let's start. Amir, please share your screen.
Okay.
Introduce yourself and let you know.
Yeah, definitely. Let me just share and prepare, and then I will go through the. Can you see my page?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So thank you very much for having me today. I'm Amir Omidvar, PhD in microelectronic, and with more than 15 years experience in medical device development, from design and to commercialization. I had a successful exit from my previous company in my home country, Iran. And right now I have more than 6 patents and articles in the field of medical field. And right now I'm running 2 companies, one pocketclinic, working on a medical device. It is a smartphone, smart injector, and another one is the biosensor, is a passive biosensor called Measuring. So, do you want me to walk through the pitch deck?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I will repeat this first section again. But I'm Amir, CEO and co-founder of pocketclinic. We are revolutionizing diabetes management with our 7-day wearable smart injector. I believe everyone in this room knows about the diabetes, that is the fast-growing chronic condition worldwide. Only in the US, more than 38 million suffer from this chronic condition, and more than 8 million, their life depends on insulin. The main challenge that they're facing is they're struggling with the precise dosing and the frequent injection that makes it really complicated. And the high cost of the available pump that makes it a big burden to use the new technology to make them handle these chronic condition easily. pocketclinic is here to address those challenges and provide a solution for them. We're introducing the first 7-day wearable infusion pump which is interchangeable cartridge that makes it personalized delivery and also makes it flexible based on the consumption of the patients. We use microelectromechanical system to provide microdosing and mimicking the body insulin injection, and our solution has the capability to integrate or connect with the CGM available in the market. While we were developing our solution, we've mainly focused on to solve the insulin challenge, treatment for diabetes. But we found that our solution has a bigger application for other chronic conditions like a Parkinson disease and pulmonary arterial hypertension and pain management. That makes our solution unique in the market. Why Pocket Clinic? It works because we are first of its kind technology with 2 reusable, rechargeable pods. Each lasts 2 years and swap weekly for the continuous use for the patient. And beside that, the interchangeable single-use cartridge provide the 7-day variability, reduce the cost, reduce the waste of drug, and provide flexibility for patients. Well, we also have more than 10,000 patients engagement that they are waiting to purchase our solution. That represents more than 30 million sales potential. Compare our solution in the available or conventional pump. We have 2 competitors, one indirect and direct competitors. The direct competitors are patch pump or tubeless, which Omnipod is one of our biggest competitor. Compared to that pump, we have more volume or capacity for our cartridges, reduce the use of the cartridge because we replace the electronics, and also make extended variability. That makes it reduce the cost. And beyond that, even though we use MEMS, we reduce the size. That compared to those technology, we have the smaller size or smaller footprint, and we have the multiple application. Mobi Tandem lately joined to the diabetes type treatment, but still they use the tube and also the infusion set. That even though they're capability to wear, but they have the tube to connect. And also beside that, the price point, it is really cost effective compared to those solutions. Our revenue or business model is subscription model, and our subscription based on providing 2 main pods for patients for $100 per month, and the disposable cartridge, 4 cartridges for a patient, $200. And this goes through the partnership with the healthcare providers, put our pump in the insurance basket, and also we have the direct to consumer sales through our website. While we're making our solution cost effective, we keep our margin highs. Our margins for the disposable is 80%, and also main pods 90%. And we think about the patients, and we provide a cost effective for them, and patient can save up to 60% over the years compared to one of our biggest competitor, Omnipod. The go-to-market strategy divided in 3 phases. Phase 1, clinical study and regulatory approval. We are already in this phase, and we have partnering with hospitals and clinics to do the start of the small batch of clinical study. The phase 2, pilot launch and strategic partners, partner with endocrinologists, diabetes clinics, and hospitals, and also partner with pharmaceutical companies for other application. We did the we received an LOI from one pharmaceutical company for kidney failure, and they are developing the drug for these chronic conditions. And also at the end, 5.3 is full commercialization, expand to the major healthcare networks and pharmacies, and implemented the direct to sell to consumer for our solution. The market size for global insulin delivery market is reached to $64 billion by 2028, and in US alone, insulin pump market reached to $9 billion. And in Pocket Clinic target 10% of insulin market, which represent the $1 billion project or $1 billion sales. We We can achieve these targets by reaching out 95,000 patients in 3 years of operation. First year, 60,000 patients can generate revenue of 31 million. And by end of the third year, we can reach $258 million by getting to 51,000 patients. And in year 5, we can be $1 billion company and projecting 500,000 patients and customers in our company. Our team is divided in sectors of engineering, business development, and physicians. Myself, as I mentioned to you, I have a PhD in microelectronic with more than 15 years experience in medical device, and I had a 10x exit prior to this company. My partner Athena, she has the PhD also in microelectronic with more than 5 years experience in medical device and more than 12 patents and article in this field. Alejandro helped us for business development and fundraising, more than 10 years experience in this field. Dr. Marcia and Dr. Tadashi, overall in total more than 30 years experience in endocrinologists and type 1 diabetes treatment. That makes our team expert and execution on our project. Timeline wise, in this year we focused to close our seed round. We did the pre-sub and also we focused to submit our FDA at the end of this year. And beside these, the potential early revenue for our solution is the pet care market that we can generate revenue and also put a strong fit and make the strong steps for our next year or next generation of our pump. Next year, by receiving the approval from FDA, initiate the reimbursement, and also we need another round of investment for mass production for about $220 million and initiate the launch and commercialization. We're targeting to launch our product in 2027. We did the 4 patents and 2 issued and 2 provisional in last year as well. We have different exit strategy streams. I can say we divide in the different sectors of approach. One is the diabetes care, and that is the major companies like Insulet and Medtronic, they are involved. And also another approach is pharmaceutical company that they are developing a drug like AbbVie for Parkinson's disease, United Therapeutics for PAH, and Johnson & Johnson as well. They are interested to integrate the pump for their drug and continues in delivery. So why investment in pocketclinic is a game changer? First, breakthrough in technology, MEMS and interchangeable cartridge with various capacity, a strong partnership. We're connected with one of the largest diabetes clinics and also senior living facility in Canada. And we have the proven traction, LOI and industry interest. To answer that, we are engaged in talk with 2 main diabetes sector competitors that they are interested in our technology, that we're talking with them for the development and also engagement with them. And more than 10,000 patients waiting list. And the last one I can say is expanding beyond diabetes, that it provide a scalable platform for our multi-chronic disease conditions. The investment round, in this round, we are raising 2.5. We already secure 1.5 of this round, and this money helps us to submit the FDA, pilot manufacturing, expand our team, and go for the next stage for clinical study. Thank you very much. Okay. You're muted.
I hear you.
Thank you.
Sorry. So Saeid or Peter, please start giving your feedback. Who will be first?
Sure. Peter, you want to go
Saeed,
first?
you want to start?
You want me to go? Okay, great. So Omid, first I want to congratulate you by building a fantastic company, and your pitch deck was superb.
Thank you very
I
much.
was very pleasantly surprised of how well was articulated and how was well together. So fantastic. And hopefully the comments I make is just to maybe further enhance. And some of my comments perhaps is more appropriate for your expanded deck, where you get to the second and third meeting. I'm sure you have it in your extended one, but I'll sort of make that comment just in case it's not there. You can make some side notes, and some of them may be relevant for this one, and it's to your discretion to really incorporate any of these or not. But I just want to say that you've done a phenomenal job. So just from a narrative and a positioning, the name of the company fits very elegantly with your long-term vision, because a pocket clinic just as a pure insulin delivery is too narrow. But I guess your vision is using this as a drug delivery, and as you're contemplating with a pharma partnership. So that's very sound. And I guess somebody makes a comment, they're going to say, well, if you waited patient enough for our last slide, we did make a comment on that. So on that,
Correct.
on the technology and the product, right? So your microdosing system is a key differentiator, and that's your magic sauce. And you did make a comment that you do have an IP protection that is you're building on it and building a very strong portfolio around that. It would be nice in your expanded deck, I guess this one doesn't have much opportunity or the room, to have a slide to talk about some engineering milestones or performance benchmarks, which was kind of missing in this one. I think as a first high level pitch deck, I think is good, but probably you need to have something on the sort of the milestones that is more technical, but yet not too technical. Individuals like me, they're not deeply involved in microelectronics that will understand it. So that's one. Clarity on your CGM integration, which systems has been tested, and is a real-time insulin adjustment supported or planned?
We use the API from the Abbott and also the Dexcom connected to our mobile application. The aspect of that, we are not working to provide the algorithm, we're just providing the injection mechanism. Why we just separate this? Because it makes it complex in terms of the regulatory. We were strategized to approach to the very simple to the market, like the standalone infusion pump, and then we use more algorithm in terms of providing some suggestion or prevention and prediction to the glucose. But our second version that we are working right now, we are working on the integration of its CGM in our house with our pump. But for this pump, we just make it a step and make it easy.
I guess that your second generation, you're going to have a more sort of an integrated version.
Correct. Integration all in one solution, not separated device.
Yeah, perfect. So the last comment on your technology and the product is reusability of your pods is your cost advantage, right? So that's really exciting. It would be helpful to add a data on your testing insights on pod longevity and reliability over time.
Yes. We did the benchtop test for the accuracy of the pump, and based on the battery test, with the consumption of the battery test, we estimated the 2 years long run for that. Mostly because with the pump mechanism that they use, it's reliable to dispense. We don't have a challenge for that, and we just did the accuracy test and efficiency. We need to try more tests in a harsh environment for our solution.
Some reference to what you have, I think that can be very assuring. Just you got to find a place that kind of gently refer to it, right?
Yes.
Now we move to market and competitive analysis part of my sort of reference. Your reference on the TAM, SAM, and SOM on the 46 billion and all that is very sound. These are the market data. However, you assumed a 10% market penetration. And my question is that what assumption do you have to support this? Because my suggestion is to have the first 3 to 5 years around 3 to 5% penetration, unless you have an assumption to substantiate your 10% penetration.
Just standalone in the US, I can say more than 8 million people they used insulin, and just only 20% of them they use pump. More than 80% they use multi-daily injection like a syringe. Out of these 80%, 25% of them they are insulin. They want a pump, but because of the burden of the cost, they are not moving. I'm quite sure with the offer that covers, there isn't any out-pocket payment, we're quite sure that we can get those people that interested to join for the pump regime, that we can. So 10% of the market, 10% of the I can say 6 million is 600. It's achievable for us.
I see.
In 5
So on
years,
that,
yes.
if you're sticking to the 10%, which you provide a excellent justification for it, my suggestion for your sum is to have a stage adoption model where you break it down on the percentage of the new diagnosis and percentage of dissatisfied current pump users or non-current pump users, right? So these assumptions in your financial model that I'm breaking down, I think makes your sort of your take much more sophisticated.
Correct.
Adding another additional layers of thought process.
Exactly. One point that I need to emphasize is that we are not targeting the people that they already use pump. We are targeting those who are injecting with the syringe. So that is main different, and it's the population is so high, and
so you don't
that
think
is
any pump users will switch to you?
we can, because we provide some benefit and features, but those are the items that we're not thinking about it, because the two, for example, 40% is 1.6 million people they are using, but the rest of it is more huge population that when we focus on them, we have a lot of gain. Even though with 10,000 patients, most of them are insulin user, the insulin pump user, so they are interested to switch already. But the target is the non-pump user.
Yeah, fair enough. The last comment on the market segmentation is suggesting breaking down your customer segmentation based on adult versus pediatric, and also direct to consumer versus insurance covered. Is there any merit to that?
The thing is that the pump, the method that it's the pump user purchase is that covering by the insurance, but however they order the pump through the platforms for the like a CVS in US, and some they go through that, and that is the thing. But the cost covered by the insurance. So we need to put it our basket inside the basket of the insurance anyway. But with the price that we are proposing, the whole package, for example, $2,400 per year, Ontario government covered the insulin therapy for patients. With our strategies, out of pocket only $1,000 that they spent year, so that they can cover that 1,000 in insurance baskets easily. That is two different things. We should put it, but how they order our solution, we don't want to use the distribution channel. They can go through our platform and then order it.
How about the adult versus pediatric?
The adult
versus pediatric. Is there any pediatric market?
Type 1 diabetes mostly are young chronic condition, which means that from 2-year-old kid to right now reach to 30 years old adult diagnosed type 1. Okay. Type 2 diabetes is 64 years old above, that they need to, in some of them they need to injection. The population in type 1 is 10%, and the rest of it 90% type 2 diabetes.
So you're focusing more on type 2 versus mostly adults?
No, we're focusing on insulin dependent, not type.
I see.
The type, because we have the pregnancy diabetes, they use insulin. More important thing is that we don't care about type, we care about insulin user.
Yeah, fair enough. Good. I'm going to sweep this through. I don't want to take too much of time. The next one is on business and revenue model. The question here is that your margin projection of 80 to 95%, is this based on actual costing or future estimates?
No, actually in cost, we estimate the cost of the cartridge and with the labor, 30% labor, and also the electronics as well. It's based on the cost of the goods and labors happened during these years. The proposal for the main pot, the assumption is 4 years contract, and that will be happen because the cost of the main pot is both of them is 500, and then when in 5 months we cover the cost of the main pods, and the rest of it is benefit.
Fair enough. The last question on the business model is to clarify whether you have built-in infrastructure for fulfillment, returns, and patient onboarding, especially for your direct-to-consumer.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Whether you have built-in infrastructure for fulfillment, returns, and patient onboarding.
The patient monitoring?
No, fulfillment for the returns and onboarding. Do you have any infrastructure built in to cover that?
No, not at this moment, no, but we're planning to use resources, third parties for that. But at this moment, no.
You don't have that. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so in terms of, I know this is a much more geared towards the US market, right? Because that's where the attractive is, but you're a Canadian corporation and you're based here. So the question is that, is there any point making a reference using Canada for your clinical validation and early pilot development as a stepping stone to the US? Is there any merit to that?
Yes, the FDA can approve any clinical study outside of the US.
Yeah.
We use these clinical because we have some fund to cover the clinical study here in Canada. That's give us the benefit. Otherwise, it will really cost it to do the clinical study in US. However, we have contacts for the clinics in US to provide our suggestion for running some clinics, running some trials. And I just want to emphasize that because it's a class 2 medical device, FDA, we don't require clinical study, but we, in terms of marketing, we do a very small first trial, maximum 50 patients for 13 weeks clinical study.
Yep, fair enough. I'm going to skip some part of it. I'm going to go to the financials. You're seeking 2.5 with a 1.5 soft commitment. My question is that if your demand accelerates faster than what you expect, is your anticipated working capital is going to be adequate?
We need to raise another round. We are looking for, as soon as we get the submission for mass production, we need to raise another round. We estimated for 20 million in middle of 2026 to raise a round for mass production. And the capability mainly focus on fabricating some small batches here in Canada or in US.
Yeah, fair enough. The last two, one is on the exit strategy. So one of your exit strategy is dealing with the pharma. And my question is that, it's not a question, it's a comment, and this is something that I typically do as well in my deck. I typically will put in a couple of examples of acquisitions similar in your space to give the investors the confidence that things are happening in that, and it's just not a wishful thinking. So just having a table, few recent, probably the last 3-4 years, that in this space of yours, maybe not exactly the same, there is acquisition, what size and what multiples.
That is a really good point. We assume that it's more deep dive for investments, meaning that we can show them what is the exit happening among the medical devices that will be more relevant in a very short, brief,
fair enough.
5 minutes or 8 minutes.
That you probably will have that. Fair enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, fair enough. The last
but
one.
Just to answer that, one example 2 years ago, one medical device infusion pump purchased for about $300 million, even though without going to the market.
Oh, Excellent.
I hope that, Said, you're not asking all the questions and you leave some questions for Peter as well.
That's fair enough. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm pretty much done.
If you want, you can ask Peter to start the commenting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I think that certainly kicked us off with covering a lot of what I had on my list as well. But first of all, definitely congratulations. Nicely put together as a deck. I think there's a couple pieces that I didn't really see in there. So I'll start on that side. One is talking more about the risk profile of what you're pursuing and thinking about things like, okay, well, what if FDA takes 2 years to get you approved? What if your go-to-market strategy for commercialization is slower than anticipated? Do you have any of that sort of prepared in your extended deck, or any reason why you left it out of this initial shorter one?
The strategy that we use for the FDA take longer to accept, the market that we can penetrate is the pet care market without any regulatory that we can easily penetrate, because our pump, it is really small like a smartwatch size Samsung, and we can use it for pets like a cat and dogs. That is a huge market to answer that. So we can generate revenue even without the regulatory. We initiate a talk with one of the insulin manufacturer for pets, so we are not worried about that in case that FDA approval. Maybe we leave a human away. And another thing is that we just for the marketing, uh, we are thinking about this happens regularly for medical devices or the pharma, that if you develop and get the approval, some competitors acquire you even you don't go to the market. So we are planning for that. And because it's a really big market and maybe as a startup is really difficult, we are considering that in terms of licensing our solution to these companies, and give them the capability to expand, because they have the distribution, they have the networks, and easily they can go and kick it off.
Okay. And so if we continue on the line of commercialization, there's a couple of things that stand out. One is, what is your actual approach to drive awareness as a starting point? Again, we're talking typically consumers that, at least in my experience, for the most part, they're the ones asking for the product because they see advertising for it. So what is your thoughts around how are you going to get out there, create awareness so that there's demand for it? And I'll use an example. If we look at, say, Dexcom, that has similar monitoring devices, I think their revenue last couple of years is around $4.5 to $5 billion a year. They're spending roughly, I think, 15% of that in marketing expenses. It's significant dollars that go towards just awareness. How do you guys anticipate playing against somebody like that to drive similar awareness to actual drive volume of product?
That is a really good point. I just want to address one thing. We didn't even spend a dime on that. We used one influencer. They came up here in Toronto on an event, and they got a film on YouTube and also Instagram. That our pump got viral, and in a week, not in a month. We have a huge amount of views. So the strategy that we use, we already find some champion for us to help us to do more awareness and introduce to the market, and that makes our pump differentiated from the available, because they know the gaps and what we are addressing. It's make them comfort and also really helpful. And I put it in a pitch deck that you got the feedback from them. Those are the real feedbacks we got from the clients, and that is differentiated. It is easy to access, but that's the point. We use the champion to help us for that. Mostly right now, diabetes focus on influencer, that they already test and get the honest feedback about the pump, and that based on that they choose their treatment.
Okay, That's good. And so for, again, looking at, I think Saeid mentioned earlier about the reimbursement market versus the direct to consumer out of pocket market. Do you guys have the path mapped out for reimbursement codes and how you would actually play into that part in the US so that you can
Yes.
customers that are willing to, again, get the product without being out of pocket because it is significant expense for them?
Yes, we already have two codes, the disposable and the main pod reusable code. So we know what is the main point for reimbursement. We can we are next year, as soon as we submit the FDA, we can initiate the talk for the reimbursement strategy with the insurance. But we know the codes and we are aware of that process.
Okay, and would it be similar here in Canada in terms of benefits coverage is significant enough to cover majority of that cost? Because I think roughly estimated it's probably $4,500 a year in Canada versus the US $3,600.
I can say in what I know, the Ontario, as I mentioned, spend $2,400 per treatment for the treatment of the diabetes. Our pump, because it cost for a year $3,400, is just covered. Majority of that is remain 1,000 that we can put it in the cover of that the insurance.
Okay. The other thing that I wasn't sure what you mentioned, but was there a comment on customers having to make contract commitments for 4 years or?
No,
Okay.
no. The calculation, because each main pod lasts for 2 years, the total life cycle is 4 years. So we estimate the cost for 4 years and how much generate revenue happen these 4 years, and that calculate for that. But in between, the research shows that the less than 1% of the patient, if choose the good treatment for them, they leave the treatment. So it is when someone choose it, we are quite sure that it keep the treatment long enough to give us the benefit.
Okay. And a quick question on, I think if you go back to, you had a slide on the year 1, 2, and 3 in terms of
Yes.
revenue as well as customer capture rate. I'm not sure if I'm off on my numbers, but it looked like based on your $300 per month estimated revenue per patient, it looks like you're losing about 45% of your customers from year 1 and 2 in year 3 to get to your revenue of 258. So what is your assumed retention rate over time in that model?
The thing is that is not recurring from that. Each patient added to that, and they need to have the cartridge. They are not using, it's top of each other. The 16,000 is not included in the first year, which means that these number keep at 16,000, and then the 28 is added to that, and that's the 95,000 in total.
Okay.
Their revenue.
Okay. Good. So the 258 is for how many ongoing patients?
95,000.
Okay, because then your cost per patient per month is significantly less. It's like $225 a month.
200 to the cartridges, and also the main pod is 300.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I would suggest to double check those numbers because they don't necessarily add up properly to 95,000 users.
Okay.
I would suggest double checking them.
Yes, sure.
The other piece, which kind of goes back to one of Saeid's comments, was around the existing customers that are on a pump system.
Yes.
My personal thought would be that they should probably be your number one customer to go after, because they should be a lower barrier of entry because they're already using that type of a product. So I would be careful not to discard them as not your primary target, because they may actually be easier to convert, especially if you have a strong value proposition and a financial position that is more beneficial than what they're currently on, right?
Correct.
So I would just be cautious with not discarding them as this is not our primary target, because there's still enough volume there to drive significant revenue for you.
That is a good point that you mentioned that. But what I want to say that everybody asks, you're targeting those. I would just kind of want to say that lots of big companies that they are targeting those. But the thing is that it's 80% left that nobody wants to talk about it because of the burden of the cost. But I totally right. I agree with you that what we benefit of the features or the benefit of the pump that we are proposing to them, we don't have any difficulties to absorb them because they already know and familiar with the pump regime and the benefit that they provide. And with the extended variability, flexible and high volume, we are very easy to adapt them. But what I want to say is that still market needs more pump or needs more solution that I address. But you're totally right about not discarding them.
Okay. Good. And I think the only other piece that I would maybe circle back on as I think would be valuable to understand better is sort of, yes, you're a couple of years out from officially launching the product and commercializing, but is maybe having at least sort of what is that stepping stone to commercialization to say, here's what we're putting in place, here's what we're building towards, and here's how that is scalable over those 3 years to actually capture those 95,000 patients that you're going after. Because it is a big number to hit in 3 years.
Right.
Right. And especially if you're not planning to spend millions and millions of dollars on marketing, there needs to be something tangible to say, we have a plan, here's what we're doing, here's how that's going to happen.
Correct. No, that's a good point that we need to address.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think we covered a lot of questions there. And so back to you, Darish.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. So Saeid, do you want to add anything else?
Just one last one. Is your technology obviously is applicable to any drugs that will be delivered, right?
Yes.
Since your long-term vision is to go beyond insulin delivery, I think it is showing for investors and potential partners that you have also tested another drug compound beyond insulin to show that the release and compatibility is really unique and is not only for insulin.
Sure.
Do you have any evidence of that?
We already just have the negotiation with one pharmaceutical company, and we did. They are doing the clinical study for their drug, and we're planning to prepare our product for them. So I believe that very soon we will have that data. But at this moment, just only the interest that they found from our solution, and we are working to have that or prepare ourselves for that clinical study.
And then what kind of work you've done that it shows you confidence into the pet industry? You've done R&D, you've done some work internally?
But the pet industry?
Yeah.
The pet industry, we reach out to different clinics, the pets, and also talk with the owners that they are dealing with multiple injections, and some traction about these needs for that. It's remotely controlled. And also beside that, we just reach out to the source to provide some feedback. There is one company, Merck, produced insulin, and we're talking with them.
I guess my question is that, are you approaching expansion of the opportunity based on any given proof of concept, or is already given that you've done this and it would apply? I just want to gauge that. How
it is not a proof of concept that is just when we dispense the accuracy, it doesn't matter. You use the syringe pump to inject some pain management, or you use other drug, that we have the accuracy. But the thing is that what we input it, it's the difference. We just provide the platform. Now we want to test it. It doesn't matter what you have it inside, but you need to show that the capability to adjust it and remotely control it.
But the kind of the API, the viscosity and all that does not really play with the sort of the release of the compound, the active ingredient. The viscosity will be very different, the composition of every drug. So if you don't do any testing, how can you accurately say that this new drug is going to work like this?
Sorry, I lost you. Can you hear me?
I said, you heard what I said, or you want me to repeat?
Yes, I said. What I said, the method that we use is the peristaltic pump that is well known among the different viscosity and also the vacuum. And we are not changing the dispensing mechanism. We just the actuator is totally different.
I see. Fair enough. Yeah.
And so actually, on a quick question on that note, with other dispensing applications, other types of drugs and medication, does that put you at risk in terms of the monitoring capability of this device, in terms of the technology that may be required to measure other data points? Or do you feel that you have that covered if you are expanding into other markets?
Can you elaborate a little bit more?
So in terms of right now, you've got something that measures the continuous glucose monitoring, right?
No, we don't have it. We use the off-shelf CGM and connect it with our application.
Okay, but it's built into this dispensing unit that is attached.
It is different. It is the total different device. The CGM is totally different right now.
Okay, so how do you measure what is in the body so that you can determine how much to dispense?
For the glucose, for the insulin, the most important thing is that you need to know the glucose level provided by the CGM. Okay, and in our application we provide that. And there is two different mechanism or the method of injection. They're called basal and bolus. The basal rate each hour continuously injected, that is not changeable. The bolus happens before each meal or spark of glucose level. And that application provides a suggestion for the patient, and then the patient confirms the amount that they need to inject. Did I answer your question?
Okay, so they have to independently measure where they're at.
They use the CGM continuous glucose monitoring to detect the glucose.
Oh, okay. So I misunderstood. I thought it was all encompassed in the one product.
No. At this moment, no. Moment, no. It is totally different. Two products, and also different life cycle. Our pump is 7 days. The CGM in the market, it's 14 days.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter. So we have around 5-6 minutes time. If anybody else has any question, I realize that the two Rezas, Reza Mustafavi and Reza Ashtari, have asked some questions in the message box. So Reza, can you go on mute and ask yourself?
Which Reza?
Whoever does have microphone.
So yeah, my question is regarding the market size. So insulin pumps are more used in an inpatient setting. Are we talking about inpatient setting, or you are talking about the outpatient context? Because the change is huge. I've been practicing in the criminology ward for a while, and I've seen only insulin pumps in DKA or diabetic ketoacidosis, nothing like daily insulin injections.
No, the insulin pump is the outpatient and used by every patient of the insulin dependent during a day, and it is the
Insulin
portable.
pump,
Exactly.
outpatient,
Yes.
every client, every patient.
Every type 1 or type 2 diabetes or insulin dependent, they use it outside of hospital and by themselves.
That's not true.
Okay.
And the other Reza, actually, could you please go on mute and ask your question? You don't have microphone.
Can I ask a question?
Reza has written that I have a few questions in different sections. Could you please, Amir, read the questions in the chat box and answer them?
The last Reza asked about the oral insulin comes into the market. The insulin, oral insulin, that complication because the unit of insulin provided by the pill or inhale is fixed. And when you use the fixed amount, you cannot control the glucose accurately. Why is that? Because the glucose level of your body assume is, for example, 200 milligram per deciliter. And you need to inhale or inject 1.5. It is difficult to use one inhale insulin, which is the fixed capacity of 2 units. And when you inject that or inhale that, you reduce the glucose level very rapidly and cause you, again, eat something or you go to the hypoglycemia and make it you in a coma. That is a really challenge. Some countries, they're developing and they marketing a lot, but because of the challenge of the unit is not flexible, it's not adapted very well among the people. Even though there are some insulin pill that you can eat it, and in digestion absorption happen because the capsulate it is fixed, it is really, really hard to flexible make the adjustment for that. And for very, very, very small population or small people, they use this, but it's more or less is just the marketing phase.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes, Omi?
Yes, Ali, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, nice pitch deck, first of all. Congratulations.
Can you talk louder?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations, Omi, on good achievement. So, first of all, I had a question regarding to the risk, which Peter, I think, and Said already covered that. But I think one of the answer you could probably more rapid is the other chronic disease, which can help, to reduce the risk. So you didn't mention what other kind of, chronic disease you can cover with this pump. Do you have any example?
I mentioned a slide that is one Parkinson disease. There is
Okay.
L-DOPA drug that are lately approved by FDA.
Okay.
That's subcutaneously injection. Another drug is for chronic condition called PAH, pulmonary arterial hypertension. This is the drug. There is a 5 milliliter drug developed by Johnson & Johnson and also United Therapeutics. These two drugs also absorb subcutaneously. The main important thing is that we need to choose the drug not intravenous, but we need to inject the drug or FDA approved drug for subcutaneous injection. That is totally different, absorbed by skin or fat under the skin. And these two chronic conditions are already get the approval for the subcutaneous.
Yeah, okay, good. So I think that the question that Peter was asking is if you're gonna go under this, to cover those kind of, drug or let's say drug delivery, have you considered if there is any other, monetary situation? So if you need to go under
No,
all,
we
if you
don't need.
And that's the Peter was asking, I believe, and you know,
There is
he was
for
confused.
those,
Yeah.
yes, it's for those chronic condition, there isn't any biomarker to
Mm-hmm.
measure, like a
Okay.
glucose in a body. For
Okay.
those, the doctor prescribed the continuous amount that you need to inject during a day.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter about what happened. You need to have it. And if we have some biomarkers, we can measure it and then make it automatic. For Parkinson disease,
Mm-hmm.
it is early stage, but because the L-DOPA in the body that produce from the or lactate in the body, we can measure it and make it closed loop mechanism to for the L-DOPA drink injection. But there isn't any available solution right now to measure lactate continuously and inject the L-DOPA continuously as well. So the only thing that doctors prescribe, they can very fixed dosage during each hour, and then the patient, if some incident like shaking, the patient
Mm-hmm.
can press the button and increase the dosage. That's all.
Okay. So what other thing? I'm not sure if I correctly understood, myself, understood that the concept or not. So you said, so basically there should be a different mechanism to measure the glucose and then send the signal to your system and, then say, okay, the glucose is low, and then inject the basically insulin to the system, to body. So that, so, and you brought up, that machine, I forgot the name, CG, I'm not sure what was it.
CGM, continuous
CGM,
glucose
yeah.
monitor.
Yeah, okay. So that and you probably you're gonna use what I heard is you're gonna use a API from that machine to integrate it to your system probably in future and make it one integrated machine or pump to use it for the future. But the question is right now that separate system also involve cost, yeah? So you said that
Again,
that's gonna cover for 14 days. So that also involve costs, or you already consider those costs in your calculation.
no, in the calculation, what we are proposing is only the administration of insulin.
Okay.
And those continuous glucose monitoring is totally another device. But
Do you
for
have
us,
any idea how much gonna cost that part?
for that sensor,
Yeah. So you
$500 per month.
okay? So you didn't include that cost in
No,
your no? Okay.
because we're not proposing that right now.
Okay. So the issue is so if you are going through the let's say market which already using pump and everything, and they are just changing the pump or the type of the pump, you were correct. So you already having those so the patient know what other costs involved. But when you are talking about a new portion of the market which is using the syringe, and what I understood is your most focus is on those portion of the market, and if they are coming to use the pump, basically they are going to involve with the another cost, which
No,
is
no. They are using CGM right now. The
okay.
adoption of CGM is totally different from the pump.
Hmm.
Because they need to track the glucose. It's like a blood glucose meter. They, instead of poking their fingers several times a
Okay.
day, they
Okay, I
use
got it.
continuously.
Yeah, okay.
They
So that's
use
the
it,
last one,
but
the patch, yeah? The
yeah,
patching.
exactly,
Okay, I
exactly.
got it.
That's a,
I got it.
patch. They
Yeah, I
already
got it. Yeah.
use it, but they don't have that administration because it's a really high costly. They
Mm-hmm.
don't use it, or they don't go through these paths to use it. So they are familiar with CGM, they already use that. But the good thing is that for us, if we adapt in or remove the syringe injection by our pump
Mm-hmm.
in one single device or one single application for provide the demonstration, the glucose, and then the administration, that makes
Mm-hmm.
it easy. You're totally right. It is the cost, but right now they are using it. We're not worried about that add the
Mm-hmm.
cost. That is the cost of diabetes right now. They are dealing with more than 8 devices and more than 16 decisions per day. That is
Okay.
huge. So we are not considering or adding any cost for them. In terms of using the whole package, you're totally right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Amir. I think you have been bombarded with too many questions and comments
Yeah.
tonight, and I hope that we can sleep very well tonight. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to talk.
So yeah, the meeting was very informative and technical meeting. As I have shown in shared my screen, next week we have another pitch deck presentation by Mazi. And if you want to have any pitch deck presentation, please use these links given on the screen to book an appointment for your presentation. If you want to be judged, please let me know, and we will add you to as a judge or presenter in the following sessions. Okay, everything is good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very
And
much.
Summit 4 is on the way, so you can register now by scanning this QR code.